Ever feel like LinkedIn recommendations need like a secret decoder ring or something?
Totally.
I mean, most of them are just kind of, vague compliments, right?
Right.
But then you send over this stack about Hafiz Huda,
Yeah.
and it's like everyone he's ever worked with is ready to write him a sonnet or something.
Uh-huh.
I'm seriously curious, what is it about this guy?
Yeah, it's not even just the quantity, it's the quality.
Right.
Like, these aren't just the generic great to work with,
Yeah.
It's people telling stories, like detailed stories about how he handled crazy situations, how he got his teams to succeed,
Yeah.
even like his sense of humor when things were tough.
Okay, so let's decode this Hafiz Huda fan club then, right?
Let's do it.
We've got this Paul Davidson recommendation. He's a senior web developer. Worked with Hafiz at a startup during a whole rebrand.
Oh, intense.
And he's talking about insane deadlines, pressure cookers, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
And Hafiz just jumps in head first.
Not even just jumps in, but he starts organizing, prioritizing, somehow magically finding more resources. It's like he's got a hidden stash of time and energy or something.
Right. It's kind of unbelievable.
Davidson actually calls him unflappable, drama-free in a startup rebrand.
Oh, come on. That's got to be a superpower.
Well, unicorn. But then there's this whole other strategic side to him too, right?
Absolutely.
Heather Mounsey, the head of creative at Plaid, she worked with him at Amazon, and she calls him the creative direction trifecta. Not just design, but strategy and narrative too.
The thing that gets me there is how she mentions him giving his team like actual space to develop their skills.
Yeah.
So it's not micromanaging, it's identifying potential and then actually helping people grow, which, especially at a place like Amazon.
Yeah, that's got to be tough.
That takes real leadership.
Okay, get ready for this, because this is my favorite description. Nick Bomarito, creative director of this big agency, calls Hafiz the creative equivalent of the Tralfamadorians.
Okay, I'm going to need some context on that one.
Yeah.
Okay, so for anyone who hasn't read Slaughterhouse-Five,
Yeah.
which I know is kind of a niche reference.
A little bit.
Basically, the Tralfamadorians, they experience all moments in time at the same time. So they can see the past, present, future all at once.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
Nick saying Hafiz has that kind of vision. Like he can see the whole arc of a project before it even starts, anticipate problems that haven't even, become problems yet.
Wow, so like strategic foresight on another level.
Exactly. And it actually connects to something else we see in a lot of these recommendations.
What's that?
He's supportive. It's not just that he's brilliant. It's that he actually creates an environment where other people can shine too.
Oh, I like that.
And then, last but not least, we have Annette Rotz. She's a freelance creative director. And get this, she actually worked with Hafiz twice.
No kidding.
Years apart. And she calls him the person with all the answers. But at the same time, someone who leads with humor and kindness, even under pressure.
That's a tough combination to pull off.
So we're seeing a theme here, right? Not just a creative powerhouse, but someone who actually elevates everyone around him.
Yeah, that's rare.
It really is. But these are just like little snippets,
Right.
Let's get into his actual career journey, because that's where things get really interesting. It's funny, we were just talking about snippets, and you included this brand side podcast interview with Hafiz.
Oh, yeah, it's a good one.
And it's so cool to go from those little like glowing reviews to actually hearing his voice, hearing his perspective on this whole journey.
It's a classic started from the bottom story. Always loved those.
Right.
He talks about getting his start in agencies, working on those big name brands like Miller, Bacardi, even Domino's. Talk about understanding the average consumer.
Seriously. And you know what I thought was interesting?
What's that?
Even early on, he's connecting those dots between the creative stuff and the bigger picture.
Yeah.
Like he talks about a Dark Knight campaign he did where he was blending digital with those real world, experiences. And this was back when that was still pretty cutting edge.
Yeah, you tell he wasn't content to just like follow the crowd even then.
Totally. So then 2012 rolls around.
Big year.
He makes this leap to Amazon. And this is where things get really interesting.
What happened to Amazon?
He gets tasked with building an in-house agency model.
Wow.
From scratch.
Okay, wait, back up for a sec. Back then, in-house agencies weren't nearly as common, right?
Right.
So what does that even look like, building that from the ground up?
It's like finding the people, right?
Like,
figuring out the processes, creating this whole new way of working within like this massive organization.
it's a huge undertaking.
And it really speaks to how Amazon was willing to take chances and innovate,
For sure.
but also to Hafiz's ability to lead through that kind of like seismic shift.
Because he did. He talks about being the creative lead for Prime Music, Kindle Unlimited, the Amazon Kitchen rebrand. I mean, these are huge, impactful projects. The way millions of people experience these brands.
It's wild. And it's not just launching a product, right? It's about shaping that whole customer journey.
Absolutely. And you just know that experience dealing with that kind of scale at Amazon had to be invaluable later on.
Oh, totally. Okay, so then because he hasn't done enough already,
Yeah.
right, he becomes the creative director for Amazon Go.
No way. Those cashierless store?
The ones everyone was freaking out about a few years ago.
Yeah.
Talk about a design challenge.
Seriously, how do you even begin to design something like that, where it's physical and digital, but the whole point is that it's so different from a normal store experience?
I know. So
That
fascinating.
has been amazing to work on.
And then, to wrap it all up, he ends up at Zulily, which, for people who don't know, it's this e-commerce platform, but they're really focused on moms. And as a parent, I've got to say, their whole approach is really interesting.
And this seems to be a theme with Hafiz, right? A deep understanding of the customer. It doesn't matter if it's someone looking for a beer after work or a parent trying to find the best deals. He just gets what makes people tick.
You know, Zulily, it's fascinating to me because it's not just like every other online store. You know?
No, definitely not.
And Hafiz actually talks about their model in the podcast, how it's all these daily deals, these limited time offers. He even calls it like a treasure hunt experience.
Which, I mean, that's genius, right?
It is.
In a world where you can buy anything with one click, instant gratification, Zulily brings back that thrill of the hunt.
Totally.
That whole, ooh, what did I find? You know, that keeps people coming back.
Exactly. It's not just buying what you need. It's like finding something special, something unexpected.
Absolutely.
And Hafiz is a big part of making that happen. Like he talks about how they're integrating the creative teams and the editorial calendars just to get that cohesive feel.
Which, if you think about it, that's huge. Because so many brands, they just kind of throw stuff online and hope it works.
Oh, yeah, totally.
But Hafiz is talking about a real strategy, like building a whole brand narrative from the product descriptions to the social media. It's all connected.
And that level of like intentionality, it makes a difference.
Oh, for sure. It builds a deeper connection with the customer. They're not just buying a product, they're buying into a feeling.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's where his whole retail storytelling philosophy comes in, right?
Totally.
He's all about moving beyond just product-focused ads and actually trying to like engage moms on this deeper level. He even talks about working with influencers, experimenting with TikTok.
Smart move. You got to meet your audience where they are.
Right.
And let's be real, moms are the savviest consumers out there.
Oh, absolutely.
They can spot a generic ad a mile away, but a genuine story and experience they can relate to, that's what makes them pay attention.
It's true. And, you know, he's really honest about the challenges, too. He talks about how hard it is to cut through all the noise online, even calls it the, like, proverbial challenge of e-commerce advertising.
It's tough out there.
Finding that right message, the right audience, especially with all the privacy changes, how it's harder to personalize now.
It's something every brand is struggling with. But it sounds like Hafiz is approaching it the right way, being realistic about the challenges, but still like committed to finding those creative solutions.
Not being afraid to experiment.
Exactly. Got to try new things.
And another thing, he's pretty critical of those brands that lean too hard on the automation, the generic product pushes.
Yeah, I mean...
He's really a believer in building those real relationships, you know, telling authentic stories. And honestly, that stuck with me.
It's easy to get caught up in the data, right? The algorithms, all that. But at the end of the day, it's about connecting with people. And it sounds like Hafiz gets that.
Totally. So we've gone through all this stuff, the recommendations, the podcast interview, even his resume. What's the biggest takeaway for you? Like, what makes Hafiz Huda someone worth paying attention to?
For me, it's this unique combination of creative vision and strategic thinking. It's not just that he's a talented designer, it's that he understands how to build a brand, how to create an experience for the customer that actually means something.
He sees the big picture.
Completely. And he's not afraid to challenge the way things are done, you know, to push boundaries. But he does it all while empowering the people around him and staying true to his own values, which, honestly, that's pretty inspiring.
It really is. And, you know, I think his journey, it kind of reflects this larger shift that's happening in the world, at least in the world of e-commerce.
How so?
It's not enough anymore to just have a great product. You have to create a whole experience around it, tell a story, connect with people on a different level. And Hafiz Huda, He's on the cutting edge of that.
Which makes you wonder, in a world where everything is becoming more automated, more driven by algorithms, what's the future of good design? Like truly human-centered design?
It's a good question.
And what can we learn from people like Hafiz who are already building that future? I think that's something worth thinking about.
It really is. And for anyone listening, if you're looking for a little inspiration, whether you're into creative leadership, e-commerce, or just, good people doing great work, Hafiz Huda is definitely one to watch.